gift subs to the Piker Broadcasting Service.
Mr. President, can you share some of what you've told Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu?
I said, keep going. What do I say?
Have you given him any indication?
I speak to him every day. He's a good man, doing a lot. Been very unfairly treated by his country, I think. Very unfairly treated.
Have you given him any indication that you may seek to aid them more than you have already?
No, I haven't. So far, he's doing a good job. He has been treated very unfairly by his country. You know, he's a wartime president, and he's going through this nonsense. It's ridiculous.
It seems like you agree with him that...
With who?
Yeah, the National Security Council.
It's a very good meeting, yeah.
Anything that came up in particular that...
Well, little things, big things, but good meeting. It's working well.
It seems like
See how straight that is? Look, they put that dead straight, and then they pour in the sand. It's amazing, right? Who would think you have to have sand? And it's got to be a very pure sand.
I know you enjoy being president. Do you ever miss building things?
I love construction.
Yeah. I've seen your heart in it.
Well, I love it. I know it better than anybody. When I see a railroad going from San Francisco to L.A., I think it's 100 times over budget.
That's incredible.
One of the most incompetent things. That's Newscomb.
And why do they keep funding that?
I think we're not going to anymore. In fact, a little bit of a story. We're not going to fund that anymore. It's out of control. First of all, it doesn't go where it's supposed to. It's supposed to go from L.A. to San Francisco. Now, because they don't have any money, they've spent, 30, 40 times more than it was supposed to spend. And they made it much shorter because it no longer goes into the cities. It stops miles outside of the cities.
If you were a
Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, has warned Washington of irreparable consequences if the US becomes directly involved in Israel's military campaign against Tehran. It's understood that President Trump is considering joining the attacks on Iran's nuclear sites. Here's our diplomatic correspondent, Caroline Hawley.
For a sixth straight night, Israel kept up its unprecedented assault on Iran. These images, captured by an Iranian television station, show air defences in action above Tehran, trying to stop incoming Israeli fire. This is a building hit in the capital. We don't know the exact target, but Israel says that overnight it hit a university linked to Iran's powerful Revolutionary Guards, as well as facilities linked to its missile and nuclear program. These satellite images show a military base in Tabriz in the northwest of the country, here before and here after it was struck. Donald Trump, who left a meeting of G7 leaders early, has called for Iran's unconditional surrender and is reported to be considering joining Israel's strikes on its nuclear facilities. He's described the country's supreme leader as an easy target. Now, a defiant response from Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, his words read out by a presenter on state-run TV. Iranians, he said, are not people who surrender, and any form of US military intervention would be met with what he called irreparable harm. For civilians in Tehran, these are terrifying times. Shops shut, quiet streets. Many people are holed up at home, hiding, we're told, in basements and garages. Many others have already fled the capital, among them Narges Mohammadi, winner of the Nobel Peace Prize, who spent many years in Iran's jails.
I witnessed horrendous attacks. They're hitting infrastructure, a lot of civilian deaths. We have a misogynist theocracy in Iran, with the supreme leader Ali Khamenei on the top, who took us to hell whilst promising heaven. And at the same time now, Netanyahu is also taking us to hell.
Iran is still firing at Israel, but not at the same rate as before. Overnight,
what had made Hezbollah invincible in the 80s and 90s was the secrecy and its relative operational independence from Iran. Famously, the US and Israel were saying that Hezbollah knows where to hit us, but we don't know where to hit them back. If Iran falls, Hezbollah and the AOR will go back, axis of resistance will go back to this model from being led to one Qasem Soleimani to being led by many, many Imad Mughniers. I mean, I think that the Yahya Sinwar lack of communique with even Iran and even Hezbollah unironically was part of the reason why October 7 was as traumatic for Israeli society as it was, and even went beyond what the Palestinian resistance expectations looked like. Like, a lot of these guys rely on training and logistics from the Iranian state. Having said that, however, when they operate independently of the Iranian state, I think that it allows them to operate independently of any sort of Israeli espionage as well.
Missiles were intercepted over Tel Aviv. Some limited damage reported, but no more casualties. In Cyprus, 2 repatriation flights were laid on to bring Israelis stranded abroad back home. Nobody knows how long the war will go on for, how it might escalate or end. And so many Iranians and foreign nationals are escaping Iran if they can, this the border with Pakistan. But many others are trapped where they are, everyone afraid of what could come next. Caroline Hawley, BBC News.
Well, in a moment, we'll speak with our Middle East correspondent Hugo Bechega, who's in Jerusalem this lunchtime. But first to our North America correspondent in Washington, Nomia Iqbal. And Nomia, the war of words is ramping up. Here we are on day 6. But what exactly do we know about America's intentions? How far will they go?
Well, the world is waiting to see what President Trump will do next. We've not had any reaction from the White House so far. There's been no flurry of social media posts from him like we saw yesterday, although that could happen at any moment. There are reports that the US is leaning towards involvement.
My assessment on October 7 is not necessarily that the Israeli military had Israeli intelligence had no idea that it was going to happen. That is impossible. You have to be an actual fucking child to think that Israel, that has unlimited surveillance capabilities on the Gaza Strip, were looking at these dudes fucking training with parasailing over the coast and using those little fucking scooters that can fly with the Mario Karts or whatever, and they were like, oh, I guess they're just kind of having fun. I think that they definitely knew, but I think it was part hubris and part an over-reliance, maybe, on their espionage capabilities within Iran. And considering the fact that this was done without Iranian involvement, I suspect that that has a higher order of priority. Rather than what the Egyptian intelligence was telling Israel, what their own eyes were seeing. That's what I think. I think that the independence of the Palestinian resistance, was the reason why that operation was as bloody as it was, and went above and beyond the Palestinians' expectations as well. That's what I think. Because I think it, as far as the bloody retaliation from Israel, people say, oh, this was a operation that they allowed. This was an operation that they allowed. October 7 was known by Israel, but they let it happen because they wanted to go and fucking do this final solution on Palestinians. They would have had just cause in the eyes of the rest of the globe, and in the eyes of the Israeli population, certainly, if only 10 soldiers were kidnapped and 100 soldiers were killed. Judging by the previous sieges into Gaza, with the casualties that Israel withstood, they'll have, sometimes 10 people die in missile attacks, and then they would kill 1,000 people, 2,000 people.